narrated from the Prophet ﷺ when he said that the hour will not come, the hour will not be established until the year becomes like a month, and the month becomes like a week, and the week becomes like the day, and the day becomes like the flickering of a flame. In other words, the hour will not come until all the barakah has been drained from time, until time becomes cheap, of little worth, so that much of it passes, but little of it matters. And one feels that they spend days and weeks and months and years working and living with little to show for it. Because again, time has become cheap. This is already the state that we collectively are in today, and it will only worsen, it will only accelerate as we draw nearer to the hour. And of course, that hadith in turn reminds me of a surah, a very short surah, the surah that the companions would recite to each other before dispersing from a gathering. The surah of which Imam al-Shafi'i said, had this been the only surah revealed from the Quran, it would have sufficed for humanity. What surah am I talking about? Surah Al-Asr. وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. By the decline of the day, by the passage of time itself, truly man is in a state of loss. Humanity is in a state of loss. And we are. We are always bleeding time. It is always gushing forth. And this is why, since time immemorial, there have always been those human beings who desperately sought to stem the tide of time. They tried to reverse time, or they tried to extend it. Whether it's the ancient Chinese kings hunting for philosopher's stones that would bring them immortality, or it's the rich and wealthy today freezing themselves in cryo-sleep, hoping that someone will wake them up in 1,000 years or 1,000,000 years with the cure for death. Or our tech overlords today in Silicon Valley, who fantasize about, cyborgs and new post-human creatures who will have transcended time and transcended death. So time is humanity's enemy for as long as we can remember. But of course, that's not where Surah Al-Asr concludes, right? وَالْعَصْرِ إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. Man is in a state of loss except the great exception, except for those who believe and do good work and advise each other in truth and in patience. So the majority of humanity is bleeding time, is losing time, but there's a minority, there's an exception to the rule who are not losing time, for whom time is not an enemy, but rather time is a friend, and who are gaining time. And that is the believers. The believers have a fundamentally different relationship with time than the non-believers. We see this truth in Laylatul Qadr, and we see it everywhere in our deen. And the state of those who don't have this relationship with time is a pitiful state. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us of them. They're the people who say, مَا هِيَ إِلَّا حَيَاتُنَا الدُّنْيَا نَمُوتُ وَنَحْيَا وَمَا يُهْلِكُنَا إِلَّا الدَّهْرُ. It is but, we have nothing but this worldly life. We live and we die, and nothing will afflict us except the dahr, except time. We'll be afflicted by nothing but the passage of time. Infinite, eternal, empty, homogeneous time. There's nothing but time. This was the belief of the pagan Arabs, as it was the belief of the pagan Greeks before them, as is the belief of many an atheist today. And for them, for the Dahriyun, for those who think that time is nothing but dahr, for them time is like, it's flat. If time was a map, it would just be flat. Has anyone here been to the American Midwest? Ohio, Kansas, Nebraska, and you know how the states look out there. It just, nothing in the distance. Right? It's all the same, everywhere you look. So for them, every minute is like every other minute. Every hour is like every other hour. Every day is like every other day. Every week is like every other week. Every year is like every other year. So it's all the same. Every unit of time is interchangeable. And so they want to hoard it. Okay, because for them, every unit of time has the same value. So they look at their lifespan and they see that the average human lifespan is 4,000 weeks. The average human lifespan is 4,000 weeks. Doesn't seem like a lot, right? And so of course you'll want to increase that. Instead of 4,000 weeks, why not 8,000 weeks? Why not 10,000 weeks? So they try to hoard time because they're always losing it. And they look at time very literally. But for the believer, time is not a flat plane. It's not a flat field. And not every minute is like every other minute. Not every hour is like every other hour. Not every day is like every other day. Not every year is like every other year. For the believer, time is more like, I don't know, the Appalachian Mountains. It has peaks and valleys. It goes up and down. And right now we are standing on one of those peaks. Right? We're higher up. The air is a little more crisp up here. It's cleaner, it's purer, and we can see more. We have a better view. That is time for the believer. There are moments which we know are qualitatively superior to other moments, such as, for example, the moment that we begin our fast and the moment that we break it, and such as the odd nights in the last 10 nights of Ramadan. These are the nights, these are the times when we gain. So the believer must always be careful not to fall into the mental trap that the Dahriyun fall into. All right, many of us, we live as functional atheists. As in, yes, we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we believe in the Prophet, we believe in the last day, but we don't live like we do. We don't live like we do. And so when we make our calculations, we calculate it, we think like the Dahriyun think. So you look, for example, tonight, this past night, you could say, well, I have work at 9 o'clock. And Qiyam, it will take me 2 hours to pray Qiyam. And I need 8 hours of sleep. So if I pray Qiyam, that's 8 minus 2. I only have 6 hours of sleep. I won't be able to wake up on time. Or if I wake up, I won't have enough energy. So I won't be able to do my work. So I can't pray Qiyam tonight. This is the map of the Dahriyun. Right? This is the map of Dahr. This is the map where, this is the math, sorry. This is the math of the Dahriyun. This is the math where we think that every minute is equivalent to every other minute, and every act is equivalent to every other act. When in reality, those 2 hours are worth more than the 8 hours that we would sleep instead of them. And they're worth more than the following day and the previous day. In fact, they're worth more than the entire month. They're worth more than this world and what's in it. So our math is the math of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And His math is not like the math of the dunya. How can it be that a single night, no matter how special, how can it be that a single night is worth more than 1,000 months? It doesn't make sense. In terms of the math of the dunya, it doesn't make sense. Nothing that we do in the course of a single night should be able to be equal to the actions done over a lifetime. And yet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us that this is exactly the case. And this is true not just of Laylatul Qadr, but of our entire worldly life. Again, the average human lifespan is 4,000 weeks. Okay, say you live 4,000 weeks. Maybe you even live 4,050 weeks. So what? How is that equal to Jannah? How can anything that you do in those 4,000 weeks make you deserving of the reward of Jannah? But this is how Allah has decreed it. This is His rahmah. So His math is not like the math of this dunya. So when we think about our time, we need to take seriously the reality of barakah. That the believer gains time, he does not lose it. And so it's easy to think in those terms during the month of Ramadan. The challenge will be after the month of Ramadan. Are we still safeguarding the barakah in our time? Do we recognize that 30 minutes spent reading the Quran or an extra hour at night spent in prayer will be worth more than many hours and many days and many weeks and many months and many years? That is the question. And the Dahriyun on the day of judgment, on the last day, for all their efforts, Because many of them are obsessively fixated on preserving their time. They're chasing down every minute. For all of their efforts, it will feel like in the end they had nothing. Allah will ask them, كَمْ لَبِثْتُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ عَدَدَ سِنِينَ. How many years were you alive on earth? And they don't answer in years. They don't answer in years. They say, يَوْمًا أَوْ بَعْدَ يَوْمٍ. All we had was a day or some of a day. And this is their plea, send us back. You didn't give us enough time. This isn't fair. We only had a day, not even a day. And these are people who could have lived 70, 80, 90 years. They did whatever they wanted. Some of them lived very busy years. They thought they were being productive. They thought they achieved a lot. And then in retrospect, they realized that they barely lived any life at all. And again, the exception to this rule is the believers. It is only the believers who are not in a state of khusr. It is only the believers who are gaining time rather than losing it. So the calculus, then the math that we are taught every Ramadan, that an hour is not just an hour, that a night is not just a night, that's the math that we need to remember even after Ramadan is over. We must never begin thinking about time as the Dahriyun do, as just empty, homogeneous, and interchangeable. Rather, we must remember that time, again, is full of peaks and valleys, and that we should always be striving to climb to the highest peak. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make our time I ask Allah to put barakah in our time. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it so that our hour is like a day, and our day is like a week, and our week is like a month, and our month is like a year. And I ask Allah to accept our ibadah tonight and every night for the remainder of the month. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.